Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada. Om Ganganapate Namaha. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha. Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sarva Mangal Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Om Aim Rim Klim Chamundaye Viche Swaha. Om Shri Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Om. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 4th of December 2024. I want to offer my prostrations to all the great sages and to Bhagavan residing in the heart of every single being. With that bhavana and prarthana, we are continuing to examine fundamental concepts in Vedanta. And we are now examining further the 6 urmis, Shad Urmi, and these are classified in different ways as I mentioned before. The ones we're looking at, the classification we are currently looking at is hunger, thirst, grief/sorrow, as well as moha/ignorance, bhaya, and sleep/drowsiness. Right? So this is interesting, the way that this is classified. Yesterday we started talking about the veil of emotional turmoil that is called shoka. It is an urmi meaning wave of experience. All right, so to go further from yesterday's contemplative discussion, please keep the following in mind, that in Advaita Vedanta, shoka is seen as an effect of avidya because it stems from the misidentification of the self with impermanent entities such as relationships, possessions, and achievements. Take a look at this sentence here. Okay, so this is very basic and very fundamental to life, actually. Most people, most human beings experience shoka. Shoka meaning the emotional wave of grief, of disappointments, of sense of loss, the pain inside that is experienced by millions and millions of people. Why? What is the root of this? So great sages like Shankaracharya ji, etc., have stated that the root of this shoka is avidya. It is the lack of realization. Now, avidya meaning that it is misidentification of the self, meaning the Atma, with the impermanent entities that are the relationships, the possessions, and the achievements. Now, we've talked about this before. We know that everything is impermanent. Every object, every person, this body also, we all know that. That's not the issue. The impermanence is not really where the shoka comes from. The shoka, meaning the emotional wave of disruption, comes from the misidentification that these entities, the objects outside, the relationships outside, the possessions one has, etc., the achievements one has, that is the Atma, that is Ananda. Now let's talk about that before we go further in this. This misidentification. I'll give you my own example, don't need to look far. So this happened in my life, as some of you already know. I had quite a few number of credentials. I still have them. I still have some of them. I won't go into the details, but they were basically lost for some personal problems that had happened, some professional problems that happened, right? So there was LCSW, LCDP, BACC, CPS, all these credentials I had. If you look at the business card that I had years back, the whole string of credentials. And some situations happened in such a way that in my life now, I don't use any of those credentials. Not a single one. They're not used at all. They're just Sachin Karnik, there's a name. I don't put anything after my name. I can put the MSW, and legally I can put a PhD, but I'm not in those fields, so I'm not using that. My point is, this happened in my life, that everything got obliterated. Money got obliterated, credentials got obliterated, family got obliterated. There was nothing left, actually. Everything got completely obliterated from the root level. So in this situation, what does Vedanta teach? That is going to be obliterated anyway. It's not even yours even now. This is very difficult. Kitna hard है psychologically. See, these the ideas that are presented in the scriptures, this is not some hypothetical theories and all that. It's not like that. It is going to provide us with so much strength that you can handle anything that comes. Of course, there is a transition. Of course, it is difficult because our mind, I know that I went through significant difficulty in this for almost 3 years. This happened exactly in my life. But because of 15 years of satsang, because of the scriptures, because of all the gurus, because of all the sages, and a couple of people saying, Sachin, we're going to stand with you. We will figure out some way. And everybody else just runs away. When the trouble comes, the whole world is going to be gone. Koi kisi ka nahi hai. Don't think somebody is ours. People want something from us. As long as they get something from us, everybody's good. The moment that we don't provide something for somebody, everybody runs away. And especially when there's trouble, forget about it at that point. Chhod do sab baat. I experienced this. Every single family member ran away, except my parents and my brother. That's it. Nobody else was there. I went through this. This is not some hypothetical thing. Satsang ki baat kitni badi hai aur Bhagwan ki kitni krupa hai. That even that happened, that is because that God is showing you, realize the Atma, you don't worry about these things. You don't get stuck here. So this happens. Pujya Yogiji Maharaj used to say this in Gujarati. Pujya Yogiji Maharaj in the BAPS Parampara, you see the Yogiji Maharaj, a smiling face. But he went through the things in his life. He used to say this, that if a sadhak continues the progression further, now this doesn't happen in the same way in everyone's life, but it can happen where Bhagwan starts taking things away from you. Like it's happened in is exactly, the more he takes things away, the more you get connected to him only. And so you don't get stuck inside the sansar. Now, I want to put a caveat. This should not be misunderstood. People get afraid listening to stuff like this. My God, it doesn't mean everything is going to... No, it's not like that. It means that from inside, realize that these things are only temporary. They're not the Atma. Situations are different in each person. Only that Bhagwan knows what to take and what to give. We don't realize that. So sometimes we get lots of material objects, and from that, Vairagya comes. Sometimes things are taken away from that. Whatever the reasons may be, everyone's journey is their own. But yes, it can happen. It happened in my own situation. Not only was family completely obliterated, the credentials gone, newspaper articles, horrific things. I mean, that you could never have imagined. Why such extreme level things happen? What is the reason? Many possible answers. But the answer that I have in my mind is to realize the Atma. That's the only answer. Atma and Paramatma. Yehi satya hai. Or Bhagwan Yoga Kshema Vaham. Some situation, few people came, said, okay, we'll figure out some way to continue. And the whole thing got reset. All that other stuff is still there. And it's a long story. My point is, don't lose your confidence. Don't lose your stability inside. If we lose the internal stability among these kinds of changes, sometimes extreme changes are there. Whatever Sachin went through may seem very, very minor compared to, look at these wars going on, people's arms being blown away and these horrific things that are, whatever Sachin went through is nothing compared to that. थोड़ा विचार तो करना चाहिए ना what the millions of people in the world are going through compared to what we think we're going through. This is another problem. We think that our issues are so great, but that's not so. There are millions who are suffering 1,000 times more than whatever we think we are suffering. So it's relative. The point here, the bigger point is, things come and go. Reputation comes and goes. Money comes and goes. Health comes and goes. Relationships come and go. Family members come and go. Koi kisi ka nahi hai. Koi hamara hai hi nahi. And nothing is actually ours. This is only a bubble only. I'll give you the thing that strikes into my mind very much. I remember when my father was in the hospital, inside the ICU, and he was hooked up to 60 tubes. 60. 60 tubes he was hooked up to at Christiana Hospital after he was in the ER for almost 10 hours, and then they transferred him, and then they, did the angiogram, they put the pump and all that stuff, and they kept him alive with all these machines, right? It's like a science fiction movie. I said, how you can keep somebody alive like this? Yeah, unbelievable, right? And I know that he was a grahasta and, worked, was engineer and very talented, a lot of great qualities. The constant struggle of life, so many things here and there, here and there. And I'm just giving you my observation only. After he retired, he used to check his bank accounts and his stock accounts. You check that, no doubt about that. It's okay, no doubt. You check those things. But I remember, after he passed away, I was there, but I was the only one there when he passed away. And then, they basically take the body to the morgue. And then about 3 or 4 days later, whatever clothes and glasses, and he had a ring and a bracelet or something, they put all that in a bag and they put it at the front desk. And I had to go there and pick that up. I said, and it was so striking to me that the father of this body, who I love and respect and care for, he couldn't even take the clothes on his body with him. What belongs to us? Who belongs to us? We run like mad in the misperception that this is permanent. This is ajnana. Nothing is permanent. And to realize that is vairagya. It doesn't mean one just throws everything away and runs into the forest or something. It's not like that. We live in the world with this wisdom and knowledge that absolutely nothing is mine. No name, the name itself is not mine. The credentials are not mine. The money is not mine. The bank accounts are not mine. There's not one subatomic particle that is mine. Think about this. Kitna difficult hai ye. Good Lord, if I misplace even one small thing, if I misplace this, I'm holding a stylus. See, this might cost 15 cents or something. If I misplace this from here to there, where did that go? Where did they mine? Like this. Small things even, we are so disturbed by. And this is the whole point of shoka. This is a urmi. Shok se bahar nikalna, a bahut badi baat hai. You have become a jivan mukta then, when you're not affected by the changes in this world. The changes in this world are constantly going on. It is constantly going on. It is constantly going to go on. In chapter 15 in the Gita, Bhagavan Sri Krishna describes the Ashwatha tree, the upside down tree, and he says that it is beginningless. This sansar is beginningless. It is always going to go on like this. The goal is Tadhama paramam mama yad gatvana nivartante Tadham paramam mama na tad bhasayate suryo na shashanko na pavakaha yat gatvana nivartante Tadham paramam mama. Bhagwan ke saath link jodni. I remember I used my father as an example. When he was in the ER, when he was admitted into the ER, he was constantly taking the name of Sri Krishna, of Bhagavan. He realized that his time had come. He knew it from inside, and he realized it even about a week before that, actually. It's a very interesting thing, and then he kept his link towards Paramatma. So when the time came, whatever difficulty he had to go through, and then eventually the body went away. You see, but the soul gets liberation. This is the whole point. Because when we keep this in mind, there is great confidence. Nothing bothers. Nothing can bother us. It is a type of meditation to recognize that this end point can come anytime. And because of that, live fully now. Don't waste time. Love as many people as we can love. Prem jitna hum de sakte hai, dena. Because the person that we think is with us right now, you don't know if the person will be there next moment or not. How do you know? How does anybody know? Again, using my father as an example, he was having difficulty breathing all of a sudden, and the ambulance was called, and my mother was home, and within a few minutes, he was admitted to within like half an hour, he had to go to the ER, and it was very, very difficult for him for a long time there. For 15 hours, he had to suffer considerably. My point is that I just want to close with this one point. Gunaditanand Swami, he talked about something very important here. He said in Gujarati कि કેટલીક કસર જ્ઞાનથી ટળશે, કેટલીક કસર વૈરાગ્યથી ટળશે, કેટલીક કસર ભક્તિથી ટળશે, કેટલીક કસર અંતે રોગ મૂકીને પણ અમે ટાળીશું. What it means is, while we are healthy, while we are alive, the deficiencies can be removed through bhakti, dhyan, satsang, manan chintan, so that when the end time comes, the suffering is less. But if you're connected to Paramatma and still there's deficiencies, Bhagavan ki aisi krupa hoti hai, there's some disease, rog, some pain is experienced at the end to remove the attachments to the material world so the Jivatma can go straight into the Dham, Bhagavan ke Dham mein. There's another thing that can happen also, that the Jivatma can go into the Surya Narayan, into the Surya Lok, this sun that we see. God takes the Jivatma into the sun and cleans up the Jivatma there of all of the material contamination before going into the abode of God. You cannot go into the abode of God with any material contaminants of attachments and rag and dvesh and all the vasanas. Those they can never go into that Bhagavad Dham with that. There's two other possibilities. That Surya ke lok mein wo Jivatma goes there. It's metaphysical phenomena after leaving the body. Or the Paramatma places the Jivatma in Badrikashram. Badrikashram mein tapasya ka dham hai wo. Badrikashram. You know the video we watch every day, Nar Narayan Dev ka jo video hai na, wo Nar and Narayan, wo bahut powerful murti hai in Ahmedabad. And wo Bhagwan Narayan ke incarnation, they're rishis actually, but they're wo swayam Narayan ke swarup hai. Nar Rishi and Narayan Rishi in Badrikashram. And so Bhagavan, if you are a devotee of God, but vasanas are there, ignorance is there, agnan is there. So before going into the Akshardham, one has to go into Badrikashram. And in Badrikashram, there is tapasya done for long period of time, or wahan Bhagwan ka hi swarup hai wahan. But so that is called tapasya ki bhumi. In Gujarati we say ke ekach bor Khava male akha divasma. One, that's body is not like this kind of body. It's a different body. They eat something called bor. So the badri it's a type of a plant actually. It's a divine abode. There's the Badrikashram in the Himalayas, but that's actually a doorway into the transcendental Badrikashram. So there's a transcendental Badrikashram where the rishis live inside there. Then there's another dham called Shwet Dweep Dham. So that is higher than Badrikashram. Wahan Vasudev Narayan ka swarup hai. And these urmis are not present there also. But that is another place where some tapasya can be done. And it's another very extensive subject. It's transcendental. My point is that several things can happen after this body goes away. If we are 100% developed now, like before the body is ready to go, with dharma, jnana, vairagya, bhakti, completely they're developed, the person can go just like that. Then something will happen and the body will just fall. Otherwise, there can be significant suffering, but long-term suffering can be reduced. Meaning what? Like, I'll just use my father as an example. He was very attached to Bhagwan in the last 4 or 5 years of his life. But in the last 15 hours of his in the ER, there was significant amount of suffering he had to go through. Why is that? Because that will prevent 15, 20, 30, 40 lifetimes from being taken. The further reincarnation cycles are cut by the problems placed by Bhagavan in the end, and then that cuts the reincarnation cycles. You see, so these things, this is why as much bhakti, see, why we do almost 40 minutes of these bhajans and mantras every day. This is why. So that whatever is still stored inside our system, it gets obliterated by these mantras and everything, and by the stotras and by the grace of God, so that we don't wind up suffering at all. When the time comes, Siddha Bhagwan ke dham mein hum ja sakte hai from here. One-way ticket. It's like taking a one-way plane ticket. You purchase a one-way ticket, not a two-way ticket, a one-way ticket. One-way ticket is bought from the from this lok, this prithvi lok, straight into the Bhagvat Dham. भगवान के धाम में यद गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते, no coming back, फिर आना ही नहीं संसार में, ठीक है? Otherwise one becomes a child in somebody else's home again and again and again. And the whole cycle goes on. Vasanas, if they're there, you can wind up and see. That's the other point. We find this interesting. Make one more point. If vasanas are there, you are a very awakened person otherwise in terms of spirituality, but a lot of ichha is there. You know what happens? You don't go into the Bhagavad Dham. You wind up in the Svarga Lokas, the heavenly planets, for millions of years until those vasanas are satisfied. There are places in the Svarga Loka, there's no dukh there. There is only just bhog. वो सब भोग भूमि है. Svarga. The Mahar Lok, there's the Indra Lok, there's different lokas like that. They're not part of this Prithvi Lok. They're above this. And then Chinya Punya Mritya Loke Vishanti. Bhagavad Gita says, from that state, a person dives back into the Prithvi Lok and again starts the sadhana. Because you cannot do any sadhana in that Bhog Bhumi. Bhog Bhumi mein koi sadhana nahi karta, not very difficult, but they come back here into this world. And then Dharma, Jnana, Vairagya, Bhakti, ye jo char baat hai, ye jab siddh hoti hai, then and the vasanas are obliterated, one goes into the divine abode. This is how it works. So we have a choice. We can decide to go into the divine abode now, or we can wind up in the Svarga Loka, some other place, keep going back and forth, back and forth. ऐसी सब अलौकिक बात है ये. So this is the glory of Sanatan Dharma. This is the glory of the scriptures of the sages. They have shown the whole rebirth cycle. They have shown what happens. The point here today, just one more thing. The point for today is about Shoka, which is an urmi. Every day I'm trying to present one concept. There are 6 urmis. This shok is one of the 6 major urmis. What is the sadhana? It's very simple. The sadhana is whatever may be happening in life, maintain equilibrium. Sthita pragnata rakhni. I explained to you what happened in my life, but that may seem very, very minor compared to what happens in millions of other people's lives, right? It's all relative, isn't it so? But whatever may happen, we have to go through it. We have to evolve out of it. We have to grow out of it, but never lose the internal balance. Yes, there is difficulty. Yes, because we are not enlightened beings like that. That we, like Shankaracharya ji and all that. That is a different matter. We'll get there at some point. But life is filled with difficulties. But maintain equilibrium. Bhagwan ki bhakti. Bhagwan ki bhakti. This happened in you see this mala that I have? I have another one like that. At one point, everything got obliterated except this place that I'm staying in. Ye Bhagwan ki mala. Or what's going to happen next, I have no idea. And I had these scriptures with me. And that's it. Nothing else was there. Nothing else. And what do you do in that situation? Don't lose your internal confidence. Maintain your bhakti. Bhagwan ka naam nahi chodna. And he will take care of it. Whatever may happen. Anything can happen. You don't know what will happen. You see? So that's the point here. And then the other side, even if very positive things are there, a lot of sukha is there, same bhakti has to be there. So dukh mein sumiran sab kare, sukh mein kare na koi. Jo sukh mein sumiran kare, to dukh kahe ka hoy. When we have the opportunity with a healthy body, mind, senses, Bhagwan ki bhakti करना, don't lose the opportunity, waste time. शिक्षापत्री में भगवान स्वामीनारायण कहते हैं व्यर्थः कालेन नेतव्यो भक्तिम भगवतो विना. ये जो समय दिया है जीवन में, इसका दुरुपयोग नहीं करना, इसका वेस्ट नहीं करना. ऐसी सब बात है. With that, let's do the closing mantra. Om ध्यान मूलम गुरोर मूर्ति मंत्र मूलम गुरोर वाक्यम पूजा मूलम गुरोर पदम मोक्ष मूलम गुरोर कृपा. ओम तमेव माता च पिता तमेव बंधुश्च सखा तमेव विद्या द्रविणम तमेव सर्वम मम देव देव. ओम ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुंडायै विच्चे सर्वमंगल मांगल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थ साधिके शरण्ये त्र्यंबके गौरी नारायणि नमोस्तुते. ओम या देवी सर्वभूतेषु महालक्ष्मी रूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः. ओम ह्रीं ह्रीं स्वाहा. ओम ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुंडाय विच्चे स्वाहा. श्री राधा कृष्णार्पणमस्तु.